Hello internet! I'm back again with another guide! Does anyone ever wonder why am I even using this picture as my avatar? Like, even is this guy? But who cares? Today we're gonna talk about AZIMANAK 13 and how to destroy it. I hate to destroy a cool looking husbando, but if I only see his bottom, I feel better about doing that. This video is also sponsored by Smallgate, so shout out to them. Let's first understand about the date of the day. The half spider, half dude boss. Disclaimer, I'm supposed to make the guide digestible since I suck at explaining complex stuff anyway, so I'll try and do exactly that. AZIMANAK's 13 boss has 3 attacks. His S1 is a single target attack. If you have 3 or more buffs while he's hitting you with the S1, he will proc the S3. Basically, you don't want that to happen a lot. But don't worry, don't just instantly die if he does this. His S2 is an AoE attack that inflicts 2 bleeds. He'll also summon these oversized spider pimples if they are not already alive. The boss will use this skill at the start of the fight first. And finally, the S3 is a simple AoE that dispels all of your buffs and inflict a 1-turn silence. As you can see, the boss's attacks are pretty simple. But the annoying part are the passives. The boss has 3 active skills, which we just went through, and he also has 2 passive skills. The first one allows the boss to buff himself with a unique buff called Berserk every time he suffers 4 attacks. Berserk basically gives the boss a lot of stat boosts. Long story short, you want to keep dispelling Berserk or else you die. If you fail to dispel Berserk and he buffs himself with Berserk again, you basically stack them together and get a giga stat boost. You don't want that to happen. So yes, the first passive basically says you want to keep dispelling buffs off of the boss as you attack. Pretty simple. The second passive essentially does 2 things. Firstly, if he gets 3 or more debuffs, he dispels, buffs attack, resets, and attacks with S3 instantly. And you guessed it, you don't want that to happen. Secondly, he's basically unkillable if he has these eggs on the field. Simply put, you want to make sure they're always dead. Let's just do a very simple recap because this mechanic is so very simple, although it might sound confusing. Essentially, you want to keep dispelling the boss's berserk. You want to make sure you don't inflict 3 debuffs. You want to keep using AoE attacks to kill the eggs. You want to heal up. And that's it, you win. I'm getting good at this guide thing. I will first show you a run of a very common AZIMANAK 13 auto team, and then I'll show you my own stats, and then I'll recommend some alternatives if you don't have the units shown. The team consists of Vildred being the AoE damage dealer, Tamarin being the healer, the buffer, and dispeller, Assyria being Tamarin's resetter and a dispeller and a defense breaker and a cute waifu. Adventure Ross being the tank, the dual attacker, and he's a mini dispeller on S1 as well. This team checks out all the boxes. There's enough AoE to kill the eggs with Vildred. There's enough heals with Tam Assyria, there's enough dispels with Assyria, Tamarin, and Ross, and there's also less than 3 debuffs involved in this team. The run starts like this. Assyria will reset Tamarin, Tamarin buffs Vildred, Vildred goes crazy, and kill wave 1. In the boss fight, you'll basically do the same, literally the same. Assyria will always try and reset Tamarin, dispel on S3, defense break on S1, while Tamarin buffs on S3 into S2, dispels on S1, and dual attacks on S1, and of course heal up as well. Eros will dispel on S1, defense break and dual attack on S2, defense buff on S3. Essentially, they'll all use their skills. That's basically what's gonna happen. And of course, we got Vildred, and his job is to go crazy. His only job is to go crazy. As long as you make sure Vildred kills the eggs, you're good. The better your gears, the more damage you do, hence the faster the run. The only few mishaps that could happen is if you have more than 3 buffs, namely attack buff, immunity, and defense buff from Ross. But if you kept dispelling the boss, he will not have berserk, which means he hits worse than a 2 minutes old infant. One thing you'll notice, however, I don't have Vildred's skills switched on. This is so that Assyria do not reset Vildred like a dumbass. Though she sometimes reset Eros, but well, you don't want to have one more unit to worry about, so yeah, turn Vildred's skill off. And these are the stats I've got on my units. Also, if you're wondering how do I get these stats, guess what? Go farm Wyvern. Adventure Ross is pretty easy to build, you don't have to follow my stats, his job is to just survive. Strip buffs on S1 and literally just stand there. To strip buffs reliably, you do need a minimum of 65% effectiveness, so try and get that. I don't have that right now because, well, I don't farm AZIMANAK right now, and Tam Assyria are honestly enough because they do a lot of dispelling. The rest is to make sure he has enough bulk. 24k health and 1.4k defense is a good target to aim for. Try and keep the speed at around 200 at least. The artifact can be anything as long as it helps your team survive. Aureus will be perfect. Next off, Vildred. Make sure he's at least 190 speed. should be pretty easy with Vildred's base speed. 3.5k attack, 300 crit damage will probably suffice, but honestly, just make sure you can kill the eggs with S1 and his passive proc, and you'll win. The more damage with the stats that you have, the quicker and the safer you'll win, because you don't want the boss to keep having the berserk thing that you have to strip. So yeah, you gotta go in quick, gotta go out quick, so the higher the damage, the better. As for the artifacts, Daydream Joker or anything that boosts damage will work. Mine is a PvP Vildred, so I've got Sword of Summer Twilight, and guess what? Even this works beautifully. If you don't have enough crit, you can try something like Manaka Control, but do note that the higher damage you do, the faster the run goes. So I would suggest just try and get high stats and do something like Portrait or Daydream Joker, just anything to boost damage. Next off, Tamarin. Mine should be very easily doable. Try and get her to 210 speed at least. The faster the better. 14,000 health and 1.4k defense will be solid. Of course, the higher the better. And the most important thing is her effectiveness. You must have at least 65% so her S1 in idle form can strip the boss. Try and get 100 effect resistance as well, so you don't get silenced by the boss. As for the artifacts, anything will work really. It depends on your team. If your team struggles to survive, try and give Tamarin something that heals more, like a Rod of Amaryllis. If your team is healthy but sometimes get controlled too much by silence from the boss, go for stuff like Wondrous Potion or Stella Harpa. Finally, Assyria. Make sure she's at least 12 speed faster than Tamarin. Make sure she has high effectiveness and bulk, the higher the better, and that's all you need for her, honestly. The artifact can be literally anything as long as it does not provide extra debuffs that could proc the boss's passive. I use Infinity Basket to get some dual attacks going, but yeah, anything helps, just works, dude. And there you have it. That is a very common team that's honestly not too hard to obtain. Aras is free. You should also have reroll for Assyria, so if you did, she's also free. Tamarin and Vildred are the two 5-star characters that you might not have. And assuming you did not reroll, let's say all you have is this guy, here are your options. To replace Vildred, you can use Arbiter Vildred from Moonlight Blessing, Vivian from Hunt Expert Event, or Free Spiritaria, which, yeah, they're all free. The problem with all of these characters is that they are a bit slower than Vildred. Reason being, Vildred can clear all the eggs with only a single S1 at all times. Arby can only do it on S3. Tieria and Vivian can only do it on S2. So there will be times where one egg lives and you do very little damage to the boss. They do work though, it just takes a little longer. There are a lot of other AoE DPS that you can use, but it's hard to imagine you somehow having like Landy, but not everyone that I mentioned. And yeah, they're just better anyway, so if you're trying to build an AZIMANAK 13 DPS, look at these units that I mentioned. To replace Tamarin, you can consider Angelic Montmorency. If you're a newbie, you probably have her, and she's probably your Wyvern 13 unit as well. Just use the exact one and you'll be good. The problem is that it'll take longer given that Amomo do not buff attack, and she doesn't push the team forward either. But she'll work out considering the amount of heals that she brings. To replace Assyria, it is a little unique since you can kinda put literally anyone, preferably someone who can help you heal more. Defense breaks more or Dispel buffs more. A unit that can do all of them while being free is Falconer Cleric. Her S3 not only strips buffs, but it also defense breaks, so she is quite useful. The problem with her is that she might lap your whole team and hit the boss a lot, giving him Berserk. And if she misses her strip, you have to wait a long time until she can do it again, which will be quite risky. There are definitely other units that can be placed here, but I'll just recommend Clary since she's like absolutely free and you literally can't not have her. An absolute trash luck account with nothing going for it will have an AZIMANAK team like Aras, Angelic Montmorency, Vivian, and Falconer Cleric. This team is all free. I can't show the stats for every possible teams, but it's not far from what I already mentioned. Usually you want your DPS to have high attack, high crit damage, your tank to be tanky, and your healer to be tanky. That's kind of really it. By beating AZIMANAK, you'll obtain the following sets. Immunity set, which is a 2-piece set, a 2-piece Unity set, and a 4-piece Rage set. The Immunity set is quite useful on certain units for PvP. They basically get 1 turn immunity buff at the start of a fight. So if you want to delve into PvP, you want to have a few immunity sets under your belt. Unity set is like a meme set. You get a higher chance of dual attacking, yes, but it's always a gamble and can either proc 100% of the time, and it's insane if it does, or none at all. So yeah, not really the big prize we're looking for in this hunt. The final set that you can get is Rage set. Rage set is mostly used for PvE, especially for one-shot teams. If you want to do a 1-minute quick one-shot team for any hunt at all, which eventually I think you would want to do that so you'll waste less time farming, it's almost guaranteed that your DPS will be able and would want to use a rage set. So yeah, it is quite valuable to do AZIMANAK 13, and you really want to make sure you are able to beat, well, any content in the game really, because that's the fun part. And yeah, there you have it, a quick AZIMANAK 13 guide that I hope has helped you out. Leave a like if it did, and yeah, take care.